show, folks. I'm glad you're tuning in. I got Lori Bianchi, one of the baddest, a fighter on the front line when it comes to the legalities of what's going on in this world of cannabis and marijuana and what we're up against. Laura, we were just kind of easing into some things, and off air we were talking about the verdict that came down. Ninth Circuit Court throws a little hammer down and says, excuse me, attorneys, you may as well shut that down. You can no longer help those cannabis companies consult. But, oh, by the way, if you really, really, really want to help them, you can kind of recommend some things. But remember, it's still illegal. When that came down, tell me, where were you when you heard it? Who told you? How'd you find out? I need to know.
I actually had a client call me.
Uh-oh.
Client called me and said, "Have you heard this?" And I said, "Actually, I've been buried in work. No, I have not heard anything from the outside world."
Right.
So we went through it. I read it. I talked to my partner. And it's something we've dealt with since the very beginning in 2010. Arizona State Bar was extremely reluctant. In the beginning, they were absolutely against us providing any sort of assistance. Makes no sense to me. You have a law that was passed by the voters. We have a program that was developed. We have rules and regulations that people have to comply with. Why on earth would you not want attorneys providing them with advice and direction so that you ensure that the program continues the way it was structured? We made a decision back then to continue providing advice. From a business perspective, it is so important. There's pitfalls, there's so many gray areas and things that you've got to navigate. We made a decision then, and this hasn't changed our minds.
Okay. On my show, I'll play a little devil's advocate from time to time. So let me start off here. How come you get to advise and consult, make a little money, and doctors can't put out the word that cannabis is good?
Well, so physicians can. There are just complications, right? So what I have noticed is that I have a lot of MDs, DOs, NDs who are extremely passionate about the plant as well, who want to know more, who understand the research, who serve as medical directors. The problem is that it depends on who they work with, their practice groups.
Oh.
There's issues with obviously written certifications, the insurance coverage. Sometimes if they're with larger groups, they'll threaten their actual position. So it depends on where they are in their professional position. It doesn't mean they're against it or they're not sharing. There are just a lot of federal implications that affect especially MDs. So it's a choice they have to make.
That sounds like another one of those devil lies. Because when I say that, again, if I'm a doctor and I believe in it, but because this group up here that kind of signs my check say, you better not say a word.
Sure.
That's part of the lie. We're pointing out the lies of the devil in this game, and the devil is ornery right now. We're going all the way back to Reefer Madness when it started, because I think that was the big ploy. Hearst and Anslinger slinging dirt, and that's how this whole nastiness got started. In studio, the Dicot Farm studio, where the grass is always greener, Miss Laura Bianchi, attorney extraordinaire for the cannabis industry. Let's talk a little Prop 205.
Sure.
There's a piece in there. Well, first, what do you like about it? Because you guys are part of structuring this thing and putting it together. So you were in the back room sipping on, a little wine, maybe a little vape every now and then, and it flowed?
Sure. This was a concerted effort by a number of professionals and attorneys.
All right. Tell us about it and tell us what you like the most.
From my perspective, I think it's a well-structured initiative. Is it perfect? No, but again, we're dealing with the law. Nothing's perfect. It was a result of a lot of negotiations and a lot of
give and take.
Sure, you have to have that. There's no other way to get an initiative written. But what I love first and foremost is the allocation of revenue. Arizona has some serious needs. Number one being our education system.
Okay.
47th in the nation. I don't know how
That's
much worse
brutal.
you could get. Right. It's
Well,
horrible.
they got 48, 49, 50.
We got a few more.
I don't want to,
I don't even want to know who's underneath it. Yeah.
See.
Yeah. So we're 47th. It's a terrible education system. My mom is a speech pathologist who works at Scottsdale School District, and it's just devastating.
Horror stories.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. They don't have the funding. You're in a state that doesn't want to pass any sort of tax revenue to help the education system. So we're at a standstill. So you have an initiative that have passed annually will give at least, actually over $50 million to our education system. Why? I mean, it's a massive benefit.
Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
It only makes sense.
Absolutely. K through 12, teachers' compensation, all the things that we need help with. In addition, right, we're a border state. It will take out over $400 million away from the criminal black market. Again, we want to devastate and put a huge kink in the cartel's business that devastate not only Arizona citizens, but the people of Mexico. It takes out over $400 million just with cannabis.
I heard something pretty coolly, and I did a story on it last week where they were talking to the police, and they were talking about how big a dent the dispensaries, medical marijuana legalization had taken away from the cartel, and they were giving an example how their undercovers will go down and try to buy some weed, as they like to call it, and the guy will go, hey, look, hey, man, I'm out. You should go to the dispensary.
Right.
So when you got the cartel and the illegal saying, hey, go to the dispensary, you're putting a dent in the budget.
Doing well. So it's the cartels of Big Pharma who don't like us.
Now,
Funny.
and that's what we're getting back to. I've got Laura Bianchi in studio. Just so much we got to get into. Talk about the benefits of Prop 205, saying yes to it. There are a couple challenges I do want to talk to her about. One of them, as you were just putting it out there, that sounds like if I'm a mom, if I've got a family, perfect. I want money for schools. And even if I just want education for people, I want that money going towards schools. We're going to take a break. I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to Laura about a couple things. One will be the law. Is it just a scab over the top of the felony laws? Because Arizona is one of the toughest ever. Folks, this show is a political indicator. If Prop 205 is to have a chance to win, it'll start right here on Living the High Life. And I appreciate it. You know how we do every day, all day. You get the latest in cannabis news, information, and commentary. We do it the best because we're at the top of the food chain, baby. One thing we've been talking about, Laura Bianchi in studio, attorney extraordinaire in the medical marijuana industry, helping fight for the cause. That's what I like. And one thing that we're talking about also is the big $500,000 donation from Insys Chandler Company. How can a company using profits from the sale of what has been called the most potent, dangerous opioid in the market to prevent adults from using a far less, I don't even want to call it a substance, it's God's plant. But instead, this company is spending the profits off of you. I don't buy the stuff. To fight the legalization of cannabis. Hey, Laura, I mean, is that like the people? Because to me, I'm thinking, it's like the people fighting the people. So we got all of these addicts. We have all of these doctors writing scripts. So we got all these crazy people running around taking these opioids. So the money's going into Insist and these Purdue Pharmas, the folks who make Oxycontin, the Slacker brothers. I'll get into that a little bit more. But now that the people have paid for this stuff and the money's in the bank, this same company right over here in Chandler is taking some of the money that they made off the people that they addicted to the drug, allegedly. And then they're taking that money and then giving it to the opposition to fight against legalization. How'd I do?
Perfect.
That about right?
Absolutely.
So they're taking, they call them profits, but it's actually people like you and me. Their money, even though they may be believing, and a lot of these people, because the studies that I'm seeing now, is that adults over 40 already would give up smoking, alcohol, and pills for marijuana.
Sure.
With that in mind, those are some of the folks, some of the biggest fighters. But when I look at this, the one thing that I think about the most is, holy cow. taking the people's money to fight against the people who want the legalization.
Sure.
Help my people understand that.
I mean, to me, it's greed at its truest form. You've got a company that is against a initiative that not only will give people access to something that certainly is not even in the same categories what they produce, but will also help the state of Arizona. It'll help the economy. It will help fight the cartels. It will help our education system. It will put money into the local state municipalities. And they're saying that's a terrible thing. Clearly, that's a terrible thing because we want to be the primary company who provides a synthetic form.
A synthetic form.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So people, what you're starting to get is the inside, how we connect these dots. Insys Therapeutics Company, pardon me, out of Chandler is in a great deal of trouble too. Lawsuits coming at them all over the place. Real quick, let me do this, Laura, because I found something. I don't even know if the people knew about it. The manufacturer that's fentanyl, the Insys Therapeutic Company out of Chandler, makes a spray called Subsys, 100 times the strength of morphine, as I told you. Here's what I found out. Oh, don't forget, last week I told the folks that there is some marijuana being spiked with fentanyl out there, overdoses and deaths happening. But here's a story you're only going to hear about right here on Living a Highlight. So Robert Markland, the personal representative of the estate of Carolyn Markland, filed a complaint on August 4th, 4th Judicial Court, Duval County, against Insys Therapeutics, alleging wrongful deaths and product liability. According to the complaint, and I've got an attorney, the plaintiff, sitting right here. She's going to comment on this. The suit states that Carolyn Markland was prescribed Subsys fentanyl and that her July 3rd, 2014 death was ruled as caused by drug toxicity. The plaintiff holds Insys Therapeutics responsible because the defendant allegedly neglectedly and unlawfully marketed the drug as a way to treat chronic pain problems when this off-label use was not approved by the FDA. The drug is intended, and you're shaking your head over there, Laura, so you sound like you chump. You'd love this case. The drug is intended for use by cancer patients for breakthrough pain, the suit states. The plaintiff requests a trial by jury, seeks judgment against the defendant, plus all legal fees and all damages. When you hear that, what do you think?
It's sad. It's sad because it's a lack of information and lack of
information.
And it's greed. Again, it's greed.
Folks, you're hearing Laura Bianchi. Laura, I told you I had some things as we talk about the benefits in Prop 205. I just don't have enough time. I could have you in here for a week. But I told you, as devil's advocate, I got one big thing, and I need you to help me. It's with decriminalization versus legalization. I see it as I want everyone to be able to smoke, do what they want, make it a ticket, pay a fine. Why in Arizona are we just having what I call scab laws that will protect us? And that's good. But man, if I go a gram over, man, I'm right back into Arizona's felony laws against cannabis, some of the harshest in the country. Help me with this.
Instead of seeing it as a scab, I see it as steps.
Okay.
So it's a war. We've got battled day after day. First we had the medical program, which has obviously been very successful.
Okay.
Now we're looking at a regulated, limited adult use program. There is less chance that you would pass broad, sweeping decriminalization than if we pass programs that people feel have more regulations, have more structure, give a little bit more protection so they can sort of baby step through this industry and feel like, we're doing it in an educated, cautious manner. It's one of those things, and I understand it, but that's what happens when we have even industry people who come out against, like Prop 205. My answer is always, we're not going to get everything all in one fell swoop. That rarely happens in any industry, but we've got to take it step by step. So with each program, with each step forward, with each progression that we make, we're getting closer to the ultimate goal, which is obviously the complete decriminalization. It's tough to get that right out of the gate. And so I see this more as a stepping stone to showing those people who are unsure, who are uncertain, it's a legitimate industry, a legitimate business, a product that has positive effects that we've not even yet begun to uncover. But we've got to get there sort of in steps instead of taking a huge leap, which then a lot of times you fall and don't make it to the end.
I look at it, and obviously, I look like me, obviously, so I have ultimate concern because when you look at the folks that are getting locked up, they are people of color, black and brown,
Sure.
and to an abnormal statistical amount too. So that's why I look at it.
Sure.
There's an ultimate care and concern from that. Green Lives Matter. I don't care who you are. Let me hit you with this as we get ready to close out. What do you think? We're going to win this thing or what?
I think there's a good chance we will. I think that we need people in the industry to continue to spread the word. We've got to make sure that people are giving out the information, education. What does Prop 205 really say? Look at the language of the law.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to convince anyone.
Mm-hmm.
What they're spreading on the other side is nonsense. I mean, the things they're saying just aren't true. Look at the language. It's not a difficult initiative to read. Take a look at it, make a decision for yourself, but you've got to make sure that we're spreading the word. That's the only way that people are going to understand the importance of it for Arizona as a state and for our economy and as a business. And you know, helping people understand how important it is to get out and vote. I know our options are sad this year, but
I need you to spread the word that this radio show every day comes on the air and we spit the truth. We do commentary, we do the news that's happening, and we do exactly what you say that needs to go out. Now, on that note, it's strange how it comes all the way back full circle. The fight right now, folks, is not legalization. The fight right now is good and evil.
absolutely.
You heard Miss Bianchi talk about what the opposition is saying. Remember, and I've said this a few times, the devil's greatest trick was convincing mankind that he didn't exist. His second greatest trick is to make mankind think that this plant, the cannabis plant, is no good. If you choose to believe either, that's on you. What I gotta say is, I had a heck of a time with Miss Laura Bianchi. Now, so no fear about them coming to get you, none of that.
No.
She's a superhero, folks. Thanks for hanging out. That's how we do it. 1100 KFNX, Independent Talk. I'm Isaac Griffin. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.